Welcome to Totality, a podcast helping you step out of your comfort zone so you can navigate the journey to discovering your true self. Here's your host, author, empowerment coach, and speaker, Sarah Moon.
Hi, this is Sarah, and I'm with Aaron Graham.
Hello
We
there.
work together, and now we don't anymore, but he has become a friend, and he's amazing. So I asked the people that I have at the podcast what they want to talk about, and he is going to talk about the enemy within. I'm
Indeed.
excited. Here's Aaron.
Well, thanks. It's been so much fun to work with you in the past and to even work still on anything from ideas to technology, like making sure this meeting could start. Right.
He's also technology savvy, and which I'm not. And he helped me to figure it out how to put us side by side. Isn't this great?
That's small steps, right? In the right direction. That's what helps us move forward. I think more than just like the enemy within, it's conquering the enemy within. There's an African proverb that I don't know if you've heard of. It's got different ways of saying it. The way I like to say it is if there is no enemy within, the enemy without can do no harm.
Well, very true. Very true.
Right? So
Yeah,
if you have a stillness of heart and a just control of oneself, no outside influence can affect that.
that's
You know,
awesome.
you know that too. You
Yes.
and I've talked about that.
Yes, I do. Okay, so how did you figure that out?
Well, there's there's always been a compass for me on a moral and standard level throughout my life. Having grown up religious and very much building a spiritual connection with God throughout my life, I had held that as an anchor to finding peace. And I've passed a few years here lately where I have not had peace, and it has been very difficult. But even without a lot of those same spiritual connections, and through the process of losing a lot of my own connection with myself, I've had to kind of reconstruct and rebuild things from scratch in a lot of areas. That's kind of the precipice of how I've begun to get to this point. And I don't know everything, right? There's plenty of people who have way more experience on these topics than I, right? But I feel like sometimes we don't learn or really realize the lessons of an experience until we talk about them with others.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I can add value in some way with some of the things I have learned and benefited from, that would be my goal to share these
So,
personal, vicarious lessons.
so what were the things that started you looking at that aspect? Because I mean, we have talked a lot of times, and there were so many things because you're so brilliant. Your mind does so many things at once, and you're so smart. And
To
then
a fault.
how did you start honing in and to get where you are at?
Well, when I've had for a long time, right, an already instilled kind of paradigm
Mhm,
of, I'll start with a poem, one I've shared many times. For
mhm.
every worry under the sun, there's a solution, or there is none. And if there be one, go and find it. But if there be none, then never mind it, right? When you focus on that which is in your control and you're able to let go of that which is not in your control, it really helps your ability to put energy in the right places and not lose and drain energy um, unnecessarily, right? So starting with that kind of being a part of what I've always had of a at least an aspiring goal, if you will.
Mhm.
I've had a lot of help with therapy. I've had a lot of introspection that I've come to realize that there were limiting beliefs that weren't serving me well. And that's kind of step one, where you take a view of the brutal reality of where you're at. You look at the good, bad, the ugly. You look at what is actually serving you, what is not, and how these experiences we go through make us believe things about ourselves is very important, right? In this first step of trying to recognize your situation, you identify what is true, what things are actually true about the situation, right? Because there are things that we think and believe that many times are not, to our surprise. I had quite a few.
There's three sides to the story, right? Your point of view, my point of view, and truth. And because we look at truth and we put our perception in it, and that makes it our side.
I like that. And it's that perception that as we look at the truth of things and what's a false belief that we have about ourselves, like recognizing as well, like another point, what does this make me believe about myself?
Mm-hmm.
And then recognizing, what do I want to do about this?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question of, is this serving me? Is it not?
Yeah.
Right? Have you kind of seen that too, where you've gone through the, is this serving me? Is this not? And how that's helped you?
Yeah. Yeah. That it helped me to detach from outcome, from my perspective, and from people's opinion of myself. It's none of my business, right? They're gonna
Yeah.
have one regardless. So I gotta know with what feels right to me, what brings peace, as you said, and an inside peace that nobody can steal it, nobody can touch it because it's yours. And
Yeah,
you go on no matter what shows up. So
absolutely. And when you have a paradigm, like you mentioned before, an understanding of the world around you, when you have things that you're maybe needing to let go of, or things that you're needing to hold tighter to, there's sometimes we'll face, I've heard the phrase of glass ceilings, right?
mhm,
That image of, I can't quite get past this thing in my life. This thing is stopping me from X. And whether that's in business, that's personal relationships, that's anything really that you can apply, principally speaking.
mhm.
This glass ceiling that we create, I've started to try and break apart this metaphor too. I think of it a little bit more as a glass bubble.
Okay.
And if you look up at a ceiling, right, you're looking up towards something as something that in order to actually somehow pass through that ceiling, you've got to have some Superman jump right through and just blast off, right, with crazy energy. And it feels impossible and it feels so far out of reach. I don't think that's the right way of looking at it if we want to actually get past this issue that we're having, or limiting belief, or whatever it actually is. I think if we consider it more of a bubble that we recognize starts from below us, goes around us, and all the way above us,
Mhm.
and when we recognize that that bubble is basically just what is our current state in wherever we're at right now, our self and identity of who we are. And maybe there is an ideal who we want to be outside of where we feel we are in that bubble.
Mhm.
I've been trying to kind of take things back to the viewpoint of a child a little bit lately because I am really wanting to open my own mind and learn myself. So kids know what to do with bubbles. Right, exactly. Oops,
Where did you go? There you
wrong
go.
button.
Bing!
Right, I poked it too
Gone.
hard. Yeah.
And
So
bubble gone.
if the bubble is where we feel we are in our comfort zone, in our safe zone, even, right? Safe is that which we can do blindfolded in our lives. Comfort zone is that which we are able to do comfortably without a lot of pressure that causes us to back off or close in or whatever else. As soon as we recognize that we don't need to just try and like figure out ourself right now, but we can create ourself, an identity, who we want to be. That's a big part of what I'm going through right now, is trying to identify not just with who I feel I am right now,
Mhm,
but trying to create who I want to become. And
mhm.
that's when I remove myself from that bubble entirely. I
Okay.
am trying to become something else that I'm not, and I'm working toward that. That is breaking past the black glass ceiling, but it doesn't feel as daunting as trying to do a Superman jump through the roof. It's simply a change in our focus and who I want to be, um, what that looks like, what that person is going to be doing in different circumstances, and start doing them,
So
right?
what Aaron to 2024 looks like compared to Aaron 2023?
Ah, it's a very loaded question in a lot of ways. I mean, vulnerably speaking, I've been processing divorce that we've been separated for many years since 2021. Now it's 2024. I've been processing a bankruptcy in light of this and other steps, been processing the, if you want to call them identity crisis, face crises, whatever you want to throw these have just been
Change.
exactly a lot of change. Literally everything in my life has been changing in the last couple of years. And now I get to honor the emotions and the realities that I'm in, learn from them, identify what's serving me and what's not, let go of that, and decide what I want to be now instead and focus on that.
I love the I get to. It's not I have to or I need to, is you get to do it. It's an opportunity to do it. Love that.
I have a
So
good friend that would verbally slap me in the face every now and then when I said need to. Sarah.
I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is.
Uh-huh. I get to do this. I get to. It is very important. And I have learned that. And I appreciate that coaching, if you will, that I've gotten from you.
Well,
It's
because
very helpful.
honestly, things that show up in life is because we can do it. There's something inside that we're capable of doing it. And um, if it shows up, we got this. We may be overwhelmed. We may think, oh, we can't, I can't. It's too much. Oh my goodness, I know. But if it's in
Yeah.
front of us, it's because it's in us to do it.
And it's as simple as you make it.
Yeah. Or complicated,
That's right. That's
right?
right. There's another fantastic podcast I've heard here recently that he broke down kind of a mental science of our paradigms, where we start off, especially as a child, viewing things, viewing the world, viewing religion, viewing interactions, relationships, whatever, as simple, black and white. There's this, there's that. There's you, there's me. There's good, there's bad. There's I'm right, you're wrong. I'm big, you're little. No, wait, that's Matilda. Um, love that guy. El Vito. Um, let's just take religion, for example. It's a contested point all throughout millennia.
Hmm.
It's quite interesting
Yeah.
how that came to be. In a simple concept, we're the good guys, you're the bad guys. Anyone who's different is not the same. This is safe, that is not. Simple, black and white. And that's where a lot of friction can come from. But let's say a little kid, we'll say a teenager, starts to build a crush on this girl from the other religion, from the other clan, the other group, and starts to realize, wait, all I knew was that they're bad, but they're really nice. And it
Mm.
complicates things, right? You move from simple to complex, and you either have to have okay, well, there's an exception to the rule here, or just understandings of how this can be complex, right?
Mhm.
Simple to complex. And a lot of people live their entire lives in simple.
Yeah.
A lot of people live most of their lives in complex.
Hmm.
But that's where you're still comparing your world with an outside world or influence.
Yeah. And that makes it so we tend to complicate things that don't need to be complicated,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely. And I think this is also still very important to recognizing how to conquer that enemy within,
Mm.
because there's still a couple of other steps that could be taken from there. After the simplicity to complexity, we sometimes move to perplexity.
Yeah.
We start to challenge the inside world. We start to challenge our own faiths, our own beliefs, our own standings of things that we have known to be true or accepted to be right or invited into our lives as what is important and edifying for us. But sometimes we recognize details and things that that's not serving me.
Yeah. And
And
sometimes the details are so little that it just, hang on, I can hear radio from the other part of the place here. I'm gonna go close the door.
no worries. I can't hear anything from my end. You're good.
I can hear them like, oh, it's bugging me. Oh. Here we are. The beauty of laptop
There
back.
you go.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, you and I have had these conversations before, how little and how big things are and how much power we give to it.
Yeah, that's a big point too. Because if we're to recognize that something inside of us is either withholding us or like that bubble, we feel like we're just mentally shrinking inside of ourselves, right? We don't have to sit there for long. And I would challenge anybody who's listening or watching to think of a time when you felt that shrinking, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
You don't have to sit there for long. Don't get comfortable, right? But know this, that you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not the only one facing that. We all
So,
have our bubbles.
so how
Go
did
ahead.
you the bubble? How did you know, you recognize that the bubble was there? Because a lot of us don't recognize that it is there. We keep looking at the glass ceiling and that is
Yeah.
so how did you recognize, what made you look around to see, oh, it's not just up there, it's here and here. I can go.
Yeah.
What triggered that?
Okay. I had a day where in therapy,
Mhm.
I'm working with my therapist who's been outstanding and helpful in so many ways that it's nice to work with a professional who can help you identify where you're at and help you identify how to get to where you want to be instead. Uh,
Absolutely.
and point out your blind spots, right? So that's been a huge part. There was a time where we just were trying to sit and identify, I think it was we were working on trauma.
Mhm.
And um, I was needing to get to a place of just calming because we had about 5 minutes until I had to leave. And it was as deep as it probably ever was at any point in time in the midst of all of the things that were going on inside. And to calm down, we tried to just imagine, if you will, like just bringing peace and erasing sort of that emotions, recognizing where it was and whatever else, and it wasn't working. It was hard. Um, we ended up doing a double session. She was kind enough to help me take the next hour because the other party had said they canceled. Um, but during that next hour or 40 minutes, we ended up just taking a minute. I recognized how I have connected with my Father in heaven, my God, my connection that way spiritually had always had always been so strongly there. I knew how to connect to it throughout my life, but in this recent few years, it's been near impossible. to connect.
Mhm.
I've seen it as a problem that I wasn't able to connect with myself, and that caused dissonance and this static that I couldn't reach beyond myself.
Yep.
And I recognized basically as we were trying to go through that, the problems that I was facing were a lot of kind of starting within. I
Mhm.
felt I had enemies within,
Mhm.
and I felt that I didn't actually need to let them stay there. For so long, they had been helping in some ways by means of fear and anger and problematic self destruction to push me toward action of some kind or another. And it wasn't a helpful thing, truly, but I didn't want to let go.
Because it's
And
comfortable. It's all you know.
it's that bubble, I'm telling you.
Well, comfort keeps us small. Comfort keeps us from moving forward. Comfort keeps us from going after the dream. Comfort keeps us from expanding, right? So it's hard to let go of comfort,
Yeah.
but so amazing because look at you now. I mean, I am so excited to see there's that spark back in your eyes. There's hope. There's not that despair in your look. There's not that anguish in your look. It is peaceful. I can see it.
Thank you. It's become the starting of a great passion here now.
Awesome.
And something that I've seen is that people get really empowered when that passion meets the pavement.
Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely.
You start doing things and making changes, right? Left and right. The universe opens. You know, I've had to try and find my pride lately and take a dump on it, to be a little frank, and find where my comfort zones are and get the heck out of Dodge, right? I am I'm trying now, and this is still just me speaking personally at least, to leave so many of these comfort zones that I have had, and not just that, like where comfort zone is the comfortable roads.
Mhm.
I'm wanting to off-road now. I don't want those comfortable pavements. And that's the only way that I'm going to get to places that other people aren't willing to get to.
Absolutely.
I know that.
Absolutely. I am so excited to be able to watch this from the side. This is amazing. I expect 2024 to be a big year for you because
I
the
it
change.
will.
I can see the shift.
It
And
will.
I will definitely bring you back at the end of 2024 and we're gonna see, well, here's where we were in February. Now where are you in
Mhm.
December? And it'll be fun.
That will be fun.
It'll be so fun.
I
Aaron,
could add two quick points very quickly in closing. There's another paradigm that really helps me recognize how to get past things. Sometimes we have generational traumas and tendencies or trends, and that's hard to get past.
Mhm.
But we can make steps, like at the beginning of our conversation, incremental steps with technology to lifelong journeys, right? And when we win, if we don't learn, we're losing out on an opportunity. But if we find we set out to do something and it didn't turn the way we expect it to, and we felt we lose something and we get sad about it or something like that, if we learn from that situation, we're winning,
Uh-huh.
right?
There's never
You
losing.
win some and you lose some, but neither matter unless you learn some.
Mhm.
And that's what's gotten me to where I'm at.
That is amazing. I am so excited. I mean, when did we meet last year? February, March, April?
August, I think of
It was
no,
August? No,
March, you're right. March of 23. Yeah.
because I just had moved upstairs. So March
Yep.
2023, and here we are almost a year later. And
February 18th, 2024.
yeah, and the switch, the shift that has happened just in January.
Yeah,
Jan-
weeks. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm so happy to see it.
Thanks.
So yeah, we're gonna keep track of you as we always do.
I hope there's something that what we've talked about that within this verbal chemistry and this brainstorming that there's some catalyst that will help somebody out there.
I'm sure it will. I am sure it will. And I'll get you here about it and I'll tell you about it. So
Great.
thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate you coming in, and we'll have you back again.
All right. Take care, Sarah. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm sure
Mm.
this is changing lives. Take care.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Totality. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, and share this with someone you know who may also need help navigating their journey. Until next time.